that on top of us here. And so, for example, they're trying to do things related to global warming on Federal Highway Administration's rule requiring states to set carbon emission targets and report them to the feds. They don't have authority to do that. That's not something that's Florida's policy. In 2022, the Biden administration attempted to tie billions in education funding to a USDA rule change on how it interprets Title IX with respect to the sports. Florida has protected women's sports. We've said that girls have a right to compete with fairness and integrity. You have some boy go and compete and then set all the records. It's ridiculous what's happening around this country. So we did it right, and we said, here you're going to do. They were going to take away school lunch money from states that protected women's sports. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And so what we're doing in Florida is basically saying to the feds that they can go pound sand. We are not going to be following this illegal and unconstitutional guidance. And we're going to continue to stand for what's right, and we're going to continue to stand for the people of Florida. So this is a great investment today. I'm going to call up some other folks, but before I'll go ahead and do the check presentation. So we got it right here. Renee, do you want to? All right. 4 million smackers. All right. Congratulations. All right. So we're going to hear from Secretary Kelly, Representative Tuck, and then Chair Wyatt. So, Alex, you can come up.
Well, Governor, thank you so much, and everyone, thank you for having us here today. It's great to be here in Hardee County, and the Governor really, explained, what today is about so well. I just really want to give some backdrop, in our role, the Florida Department of Commerce, and how we really look at, these kind of grants, these kind of dollars, how we work with communities like Hardee County to make these awards, and really that process, because I think it's so special to be here in particular because this grant application, thinking about the application Hardee County specifically put forward, it really was one of the ones that really stood out the most to us because it was so much about what the governor's talked about, the leadership and vision he's given us around really what are the community's infrastructure needs, workforce needs, how do those tie back to education, how does all that work together. This is one of the best applications that we've seen in the last couple of years where truly it was a true synergy of all those things. We're seeing some great work coming forward from Hardee County. We're seeing some great work coming forward from our rural communities. And where we fit in, the Florida Department of Commerce, we launched our broadband office back in 2020. The legislature gratefully supported the Broadband Opportunity Grant Program. The governor mentioned, we've worked over the last few years to help every single county start its own local planning, local technology planning team so that every county around the state has a voice, has an ownership role in how dollars like this, resources like this are going to be spent. Before today, the governor mentioned before today coming into these announcements, the awards that we rolled out we're going to serve about 300,000 or so residences, schools, businesses, and so forth. Today's awards will take us almost up to about 340,000. Again, residents, homes, businesses, schools around the state, and that really means something at a real human, personal level. If you think about what that means, especially in our rural counties, especially in those remote communities, even some of our urban counties, that's kids getting to do their homework at night. That's people getting to apply for a job. Most job applications these days, most interviews these days are online. That's a person trying to get that job. That's a person trying to take that class at night. Maybe they work during the day, they're taking that class at night, and they're trying to make a difference for their family. That's emergency management. That's the ability of our law enforcement and first responders to respond to a need, to have actual, timely, complete information quickly. So these dollars, what we're doing here today, that's credit card transactions going through a small business. If that small business can't get that transaction through, that might be a sale they don't get. So these are real needs at a real human, personal level. And for what we do, the Department of Commerce working on these grant programs, it's a community partnership. We've been able to partner with CareerSource, with Adria Johnston and her team at CareerSource and the local workforce boards around the state on some of these grants. 5 of the grants being rolled out today are partnerships with local workforce boards. 4 of the grants today are partnerships with state colleges around the state, because these are hubs of connectivity for the community where learning, workforce development, all of these things occur in the same place. And some of these grants too, just want to think about some of the communities that are getting connectivity through these grants. Lake Butler in Union County, Groveland in Lake County, Cross City in Levy County, Lake Panasoffkee kind of there in Marion in Sumter County, Hosford in Liberty County, Belle Glade on the western edge of Palm Beach County, Sopchoppy in Wakulla County, Olustee in Baker County. Governor, we were there in Steinhatchee in Taylor County. Steinhatchee is way off the beaten path, is getting support through these grants that otherwise it probably wouldn't happen. And when I think about this places, Olustee and Baker County, remote community, North Florida, that 23 years ago I spent time at, as I was a young legislative aide, working in the legislature, and I would travel probably every other week from Jacksonville, that area, over to Tallahassee, and I would always take the more scenic route on 90 rather than I-10, and I would travel through Olustee. And I've probably been through that community, tiny remote community, probably 50 times over the years, but I hadn't been there about 21 years until just about 4 weeks ago, and I drove through Olustee, and what stood out to me is it looked the same. And I'm all for the character of a community kind of remaining, but 21 years later, it looked the same. And that shouldn't be. Every community should have that access to education, jobs, and those sort of connective opportunities. And that shouldn't be you have a community that 21 years later looks exactly the same. So that's what these grants are about, is connecting for those communities and really kind of bringing whatever that vision is. Really, again, really excited to see the application that Hardee County put forward. I think it's going to create jobs, it's going to create opportunity. And so we're Department of Commerce, we're in it for the long haul with you, looking forward to supporting this grant, getting it launched, seeing shovels in dirt, backhaul work going, and seeing job creation. So again, thank you, Governor, for your leadership. And with that, I'll turn it over to Representative Tuck.
Governor, thank you for having me here today, and thank you all for being here today. It's good to be back home for a little bit. And this conversation is so important. We, with your administration's support, Speaker Renner's legacy was universal school choice, which has created unprecedented access to online educational options. At the same time, in a post-COVID environment, you may have professionals who telecommute to a job in New York, and you may have 3, 4, 5 different people who are all fighting for internet access in the same household. The conversation has never been more important. The need for reliable broadband access has never been more prevalent, but the strain on rural communities like ours has never been felt more than it is today. So it's an honor to stand with you today. I can't thank you enough, Governor, for your investment in our community, and this is going to be an incredible day for our area. Thank you.
So I'll introduce myself. I'm Commissioner Renee Wyatt with the Hardee County Board of County Commissioners, and I just want to say that with the board, my fellow commissioners are here, our county manager, Senator Denise Grimsley with the development group, the IDA board, Representative Tuck, we can't thank you enough for all of the efforts that you do for our community as well. And Governor, it's so good to see you here again. You come every time we've called. And it was really nice to hear that Hardee County has the same visions as Governor DeSantis and his reign in our state. You do a wonderful job for our community, and we can't thank you enough. So, thank you. I'm not as good at reading as Governor is, so I also have to wear my glasses, so forgive me for that. You've kickstarted all of our hearts with this award. I can't tell you how exciting it is for all of us. The award for this facility will provide an opportunity for the citizens to access telehealth. It'll provide mentors for entrepreneurs and generate small businesses, as well as create needed housing. The facility itself is going to be a result of a 3-story building, and it's something that we've all been discussing for some time now with the plans that we've been trying to build for the future of this community, for our county. The first floor is going to be designated for a culinary incubator. The second floor will be a traditional incubator that will feature office spaces, classrooms, and computer lab. The third floor will be added as much-needed residential condos. And this facility is going to be even more with this broadband access. I cannot stress enough how important it is for such a small rural community like this. And also, I would like to say, this gentleman right here, we could not thank you enough for bringing him to this community and appointing President Hawkins to this college. We love having him. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about him, and I got to meet him and have a discussion this morning. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for everything, and we appreciate you.
Well, we're excited about this award, and in our first term, I think I was the first governor to do public events in all 67 counties, and so we'll do that again in the second term. I know we've done a lot already in the last year, but we're going to do more. But part of the reason we do that is because when you do them, you show up and you bring something, either a good announcement or you bring a check, and so that's what we're doing today with this, and it definitely got to the point when people see me rolling into their communities, they figure something was going to happen that was positive. So we're excited about that. We're going to make sure that we get around and do that. And I think that our administration has been one that's been very we understand that you can focus on a handful of very populated areas, and those are important areas to our state, but you have to also do things for our rural communities. And so we've put a lot of elbow grease into that, and we'll continue to do that as we go through these next few years. I also just want to say just a couple things about some of the stuff going on. Yesterday, we announced that we're sending even more support to the southern border to help Texas fortify against what's happening. And we were the first state to send in 2021. We've sent Florida Highway Patrol. We've had National Guard. We've had Florida Fish and Wildlife. We've had Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and they've been there on the ground continuously in recent months especially. But we also said, you know what, they have all this situation where Texas is fortifying, so we're going to do more to help fortify. So we did authorize National Guard as well as the Florida State Guard. So no state has done more to help secure this country's border that's not a border state than the state of Florida has, because we understand that a country either has a border or it's not a country. And so we have to establish this border. So we're doing it. And Biden could do this if he wanted to. I mean, he doesn't need legislation. I know they're working on it. Everything I've heard about it is that it's a disaster, what they're doing in Washington, because they're servicing other interests rather than your interests. But he could do it right now if he wanted to. And instead, what they're doing is he has threatened to actually go in and remove barricades that Texas has put up to let more people come into this country illegally. And you see some of these images, you see some of these people in New York City committing crimes, and the sense of entitlement on some of these illegal aliens is unbelievable. They act like they have a right to illegally come into our country. I'm sorry, you do not have that right. And if we were a country that was serious, we'd be sending these people back home to their home countries. That's how you enforce the rule of law. Biden's not doing that. He could secure the border if he wanted to, and he's choosing not to do it. So I don't think they're going to end up with any type of legislation that's going to actually solve the problem. I think in some respects it may codify the problems and kind of give Biden a campaign issue to where he says, oh, well, they wouldn't give me the authority. He has the authority now. If he wanted to do it, he could do it. Second thing is we are looking at this whole ESG. We did a big piece of legislation last year, environment, social governance. It's a lot of big companies, asset managers, Wall Street banks, trying to impose an agenda on society through the economy, not through the constitutional process. They're trying to impose policies that can't win at the ballot box. So they're very much opposed to reliable energy development. They're opposed to agriculture, modern agriculture practices. They're opposed to things like Second Amendment, all kinds of things that they want to impose through that. So we said in Florida, no. You want access to our market? do normal business. And so we told banks, you have to attest. You're not requiring ESG. You're not allowed to do things like social credit scores. And some of this stuff, they really want to go after agriculture, how they do. They blame agriculture for global warming. I know the legislature's doing a bill to try to protect our meat. You need meat, okay? And we're going to have meat in Florida. Like, we're going to have fake meat. Like, that doesn't work. So we're going to make sure to do it right. But there's a whole ideological agenda that's coming after, I think, a lot of important parts of our society. And like Florida, obviously we have a lot of agriculture. Florida also relies on reliable energy to power our electric grid, particularly in the face of natural disasters. When Hurricane Ian came through, we got the lights back on because we had access to reliable energy. If we had to rely on windmills and solar panels, we would not have gotten the lights back on when we did. So we're very sensitive to that. So the ESG, it's just bad news. And a lot of these Wall Street banks, they had to attest under our law that they're not imposing ESG on their customers as a way for doing business. And yet it seems like some of them are still doing that. So we're looking at all this, but suffice it to say, we're going to make sure that our legislation is enforced because we think it's important. We don't think, first of all, these are bad policies that they're trying to do. Why would we want to give to a handful of very wealthy companies the ability to impose this social change on our country without our consent? That's just not the way you should do business. They could never achieve these policies through the ballot box. They would lose elections if they ran candidates who were advocating this stuff. And so this is basically doing an end run around the constitutional system to be able to really do significant policy and social change. So we're protecting people in Florida from that, and I wouldn't want to delegate that to any group of companies, but if we had to, these would be the last companies I would want to be imposing their views on us because they don't have your best interests at heart. So we're going to be locked in on this. We understand it's an important fight, and we'll make sure that we're able to win the fight. And the good thing about Florida, if we were our own country, we'd be the 14th largest economy in the world. So we have the ability to weigh in on this, I think, in ways that are meaningful. And then finally, I just say, I'm hearing reports that Biden may unilaterally recognize the existence of a Palestinian Arab state. And I can't think of anything more ridiculous for him to do at this juncture than that. Just think about it. You have Hamas attack Israel, one of the worst terrorist attacks in modern times, more Jews killed on October 7th than at any day since the Holocaust, and yet the response is going to be to recognize a Palestinian Arab state? You got to be kidding me with this. And so I don't know what they're going to end up doing, but I think that that'd be a huge, huge mistake to do that. The fact of the matter is Hamas and other Palestinian Arabs, they don't want their own state. They want the annihilation of Israel. They want the annihilation of the Jewish state. That is what motivates them. And so if you recognize a Palestinian Arab state, all that's doing is creating a stepping stone to the destruction of Israel. So that's a total non-starter. And if he does that, I think it will be one of the biggest mistakes that a president's made in modern time. But he's given Jimmy Carter a run for his money. That's all I can tell you. Thanks, everybody.